You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 114. Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kaylee
and Josiane from Educalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life.
Hello there and welcome. We are so happy to have you here with us today. In this episode of the Balanced Educator Podcast, we've invited Maria Costaki, teacher of 30 years, onto the show to share her reasons for using the Educalme Classroom social emotional learning program with her students. Maria shares how she uses the resources in the Educalme Classroom program and what she does to create a safe and compassionate classroom culture that supports student mental health and well-being. Maria also gives her sage advice to teachers that are considering starting an Educalme Classroom practice and explains what they can do to get over that hurdle of starting. Before we get into this awesome interview, we're so excited to share this week's sponsor, Time Timer. Time Timer is a visual timer that's clinically proven to increase self-regulation in children. This is a tool that we love to use in our classrooms because it really helps with classroom management. It helps with time management. It helps our students to be more independent because they have this physical, visual timer to help them understand how much time has passed and to track how much time has passed so that they can learn to manage their time. They have a physical time timer, but they also have a desktop time timer. I am loving this desktop time timer because you can set multiple different timers with different amounts of time. You can use different colors, so it's super visual. You can have them saved, so if there's certain tasks that you do pretty much every day and you want to quickly pull up that 5-minute timer or that 10-minute timer or whatever it is, you can have those ready for you. Or you can also use it to create different timers for different groups if you're doing group work that happens to have different amount of time for each station or things like that. Super useful in so many different ways. You definitely have to check out Time Timer. Go to timetimer.com/Educalm to find out more about these visual timers and to buy. They are awesome and super affordable, which I love. Again, go to timetimer.com/Educalm to check it out or to purchase them. All right, let's get into this week's interview with Maria. Hello there, Maria. Thank you so much for being with us on the podcast today.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Could you introduce yourself to our audience?
Of course. My name is Maria Costaki, and I am a teacher in Oakville, Ontario. So that's the Halton Board of Education. And I have been teaching for close to 30 years. So a long career, which I have loved. I teach French immersion. So here in Halton, the French immersion program is 50-50, which means that I teach the students for half of the day in French, and the other half of the day they see their English teacher for the rest of the subjects. So my English partner is Kate Patterson, and we have a great little team going on. And we love what we do. We did grade 5 for the first time this year and have taught together grade 3 as well. Now, previously to returning to junior and primary classes, I taught grade 7 and 8 French immersion for 18 years.
Wow.
So most of my career has been in the intermediate years.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I find that each teacher kind of has their area that they're just called to, and middle years is tough. It's a hard age group. So bravo for being one of the people that are the angels that take on the middle years.
Yeah, it's a different kind of child for sure. Yeah. But then after 18 years, I was ready for a change. And I've loved going to the junior and primary years. Nothing lower than grade 3, though. Like I'm 3 and up.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That's wonderful. So you are a veteran teacher, and I would love to know, at this point in your career, what motivated you to want to start using Educalme Classroom as a program in your classroom?
Well, I'm a firm believer of the importance of mental health. So, I have always practiced mindfulness yoga myself, and like I'd say in the last decade or so, I've seen a big decline in my students' mental health, stress, family issues, the way they cope with adversity. It has been a significant change, I would say. So I had been, using mindfulness in my own way, going for nature walks with them, doing the occasional script to practice breathing, and just introducing them in different ways of managing their stress and their anxiety, and trying to find more balance in their lives. So it was kind of hard teaching French immersion and really wanting to stick to French all the time. When it's something as important as that, you also want them to be engaged and really understand what you're saying and what they're supposed to do, rather than, dozing off or daydreaming because they don't understand the vocabulary. So when you introduced the Educalme program, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is exactly what I needed. And I have been using it with Kate in our grade 3 and grade 5 classes daily for the last 2-3 years.
That is so wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing this with your students. I'm so happy to hear that you're enjoying it and that it was the right fit for what you were looking for. It's so funny to sort of hear your story and how, you needed a program that fit for French immersion, because that's exactly why we created the program. Because when Josiane and I were looking for a program that worked with our French immersion students, we just couldn't find one. So we got frustrated with not being able to find good resources and decided, let's just make it ourselves. So happy.
It's great. And we really use the audios one day in English, one day in French. And that way the students really know what's happening, and they are really looking forward to it every day. If something goes on and we forget, they tell us, Madame, on n'a pas fait Educalme aujourd'hui. So it's really part of their routine right now.
That is so great. So speaking of routine, can you walk us through how you use the Educalme Classroom program in your classroom? Like, what does that routine look like?
So we have, because of how the schedule works, and we want to be with our students when they practice mindfulness. We don't want to give it to, let's say, the music teacher or a coverage teacher. We tend to do it every day after first break. So they come in and they know they're going to sit on the carpet. Well, now in September, I don't know, because there's no carpet anymore. So we shall see.
It might be different if we have remote learning. So we'll see.
So we sit on the carpet, and they know that everybody practices differently. Some close their eyes, some sit at their chair, some sit cross-legged. But we do have some boundaries, like you can't be ticking your pencil, or you can't be thumping your foot on the floor and kicking the chair in front of you. So we really allow them to practice in any way they want, but without disrupting people around them.
Right.
And
could we
go through
I'm just going to pause you there, because I'd love for you to elaborate on how do you come up with and communicate those expectations to your students? Do you have kind of a process for that?
Well, initially at the beginning of the year, we go through the whole developing success criteria together. So we discuss, what do you find annoying? What do you enjoy? And both Kate and I have a very open relationship and discussion going on a daily basis with the students. So, when they say, I find it annoying when, Josiane kicks my chair or Kaylee taps her pencil, it's not directed against that student. It's just to express how you're feeling. And we make sure that everybody feels confident and feels safe to say what works for them. And that way people know that, those boundaries are there so that everybody can have their own practice the way they want it.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So we were in the routine. Let's get back to that. So they sit on the carpet.
We do the audio, which, depending on the theme, varies from 2 minutes to 5 minutes. And I find that's perfect. The first day we'll do it in English. The next day we'll do it in French. And after that, we have a little discussion. How did you feel? What is different for you now than before at recess? What did you like about it? And, after a while, kids share and they're much more comfortable talking about their emotions and their feelings. So that's our daily routine. Now, every few weeks, we also use the printables that you guys have developed. So we've done the gratitude booklet, we've done growth mindset. So those are done on a special, we have a month going, let's say, about gratitude, and we talk about that theme. We haven't done all of them because I also find there's a lot of paper going on there, and we are trying to avoid the photocopies. And with 47 students between both classes, that's a lot of paper. And then we've also done the videos. We share that information with parents as well. And another weekly routine we have is that they do a reflection every Friday. So that's not part of the Educalme program, but it ties into the whole being aware and reflect and give gratitude. So we basically say, 3 amazing things that happened this week. How could this week have been a little bit different or better? And then a statement, I am, and then they just write down one word about themselves.
That's so great. So it sounds like you're really integrating what students are learning in the Educalme Classroom practice into a lot of what you're doing in the classroom. Are there any other ways that you're kind of tying what they're learning in the Educalme Classroom units to other things, other activities you do in the classroom or lessons or things like that?
I think everything ties in the classroom culture, like your growth mindset theme. That's a big topic for a lot of these students, especially as they get older. Like grade 5, we find that, it's the age where they start doubting themselves and comparing themselves so much to others. And depending on the family background and the importance that is placed on marks and how tied in some parents believe that marks are to success, this is causing a lot of stress to a lot of students. So growth mindset and having them believe that anything is possible and that it's not, you might get a not very good mark in this science test, but what did you learn? Like, do you remember when we built the structures and how that went? And focusing on other things other than marks, I think is very important. So it's more about your daily interactions, I think, with your students and how you behave yourself and the comments you hear and you address. And when you hear a put down, you stop and you address the whole class and you say, that's not okay. How is so and so feeling right now? Why is that okay? And that's what you hope to do with giving your students these tools of being mindful and being present, that they will go and grow up and go into life, but they will trust themselves and their intuition as to do what's right and what's best for them, rather than being influenced by, what's cool or what the popular kids said or did. And
that's so wonderful. I love that you talked about helping the kids to trust themselves and their own intuition. That is one of our intentions with this program, because what we often reflect on is the fact that the world is changing so quickly that we really can't know what jobs or what life is out there for our students once they leave our classrooms and once they leave school. So the best thing we can do is to teach them to trust themselves, to know themselves, to recognize their own interests and curiosities, and to know that their voice of reason, of what feels right and what doesn't feel right, is the most important voice to listen to. So it's great to hear that you're seeing that. Wonderful. Yeah. Now, I'd love to know, you said that mental health is really important for you. So can you talk about some of the observations that you've had throughout this school year using Educalme Classroom on student mental health?
Yes, the students really appreciate it. And some of these kids now in grade 5, we had in grade 3 as well. So we had done Educalm with them when they were in grade 3. Then they went on to grade 4 with other teachers, and now we have them again. And it's interesting how they remember. Some of them continued to practice using, different apps, Headspace or whatever other apps. They do it as a family. And we have heard from parents as well that say, this has been the biggest change in my son or my daughter, that it improves focus. Like, to me, that's another thing that has changed significantly over the years in my career. The lack of focus that kids have these days, if it's not something that's on a screen or something that is animated, you've lost them. So I think being able to focus on their breath and to calm down is a very important skill to also help them with focus. So I'd say we definitely see them practice, the 5-finger breathing before a test, or they tell us, I couldn't fall asleep last night, but I try to remember some of the strategies from our mindfulness practice. Of course, it's not everybody, but the fact that they are aware enough to tell us, and even now with the online learning, we had practice Educalm daily on our task board that we gave them every week. But of course, it was hard to monitor, right? You can't actually say, okay, how many of you, we did ask them, did you do it? But there's no way for us to actually know if they do it. But we did hear from about, I'd say, 5 or 6 parents during the online learning these last 4 months that they did practice and they took advantage of the Educalm codes to do it as a family, and they really appreciated it.
That's so great to hear during the tumultuous 2020.
2020.
It's nice to hear that parents found some solace in this mindfulness practice and doing it as a family. That's great to hear. Now, next thing I'd like to talk about is time management in the classroom. Do you find that Educalme Classroom has influenced how much time you have in the classroom for academics?
Well, because it definitely doesn't take time away. I hear a lot of teachers that often say about programs or initiatives like that, I don't have time. There's so much curriculum to cover. And, both Kate and I are of the same mind that if you don't have these things in place, if you don't have a culture in your classroom where everybody feels safe to take risks and to speak their opinion and to tell you when they're not feeling well, um, what does curriculum matter? Like, it's the well-being of every child in your classroom. So whether, they know how to build a structure or how to do fractions, if they can't cope with a little bit of adversity, if they can't calm themselves down, if they can't put things in perspective, if they can't be kind to themselves as well. Like a lot of negative self-talk is happening with a lot of these kids. So yeah, curriculum comes second. And when you have those things in place, we find that then curriculum just flows. So you can just, when the kids are ready, they're ready. So you can cover much more, much faster when they're not in their little heads worrying about what Johnny will say if they give the wrong answer, and they have anxiety about the mark that wasn't perfect and so on. So I think that when we do practice mindfulness and the students are able to focus better, you get down to work faster. When they come from recess and something has happened, and you know how they run to you 10 at a time, madam, 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 madam. Well, when they know that they have some of these strategies, they're able to put some space, right? And we have a rule, Kid and I, that if you're not bleeding, you haven't vomited, and there's no fire, everything else can wait. Sit down, practice your mindfulness, and 9 out of 10 times that madam, madam, madam urgency has evaporated because they took a few breaths and it wasn't as they don't react as um as immediately after something happens. They can put that little space between the behavior or what happened and their reaction. And I think a lot of kids need that these days.
Yeah, definitely. And it makes sense when our body is in the stress response, in fight and flight, everything seems like a fire. And so if
Absolutely.
they can use those, like our brain is from the hormones that are going through our body during stress, it puts our brain into literally perceiving things as worse than they actually are. So if the kids are taking a couple deep breaths, then their body calms, that stress response calms, they can see more clearly and recognize, oh, yeah, that wasn't as big of a deal as I thought it was a second ago. So it really helps to put out a lot of those fires and also to give students the skills to be able to manage their reactions and their relationships. If they're lashing out less, then friendships can be stronger.
Absolutely. And I think that's true for us as adults too. As parents and as teachers, we have conditioned the kids to get immediate gratification. Either, the little kid, mommy, I need this now, la, la, la. Like, okay, it's okay to make a little kid wait for 3 milliseconds before replying to every need they are talking to you about. And the same with us as teachers, the that urgency, teaching them to wait, I think is a great skill.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's awesome. So I'd love to know, you've been teaching for a really long time. It's been a while now that you've been integrating mindfulness into your teaching. And in the last 3 years, you've been using Educalme Classroom. Has the Educalme Classroom program kind of influenced your teaching in any way?
I think it has solidified the importance of having that kind of culture into my classroom. Um, I don't doubt myself anymore. When you're the only one, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, when you're the only one talking about, take a deep breath before this, people look at you a little bit weirdly. But
Yeah.
I think having the program and talking about it, and there's of course much more discussion generally about mental health. Conversations, I think, are so important because it makes it as important to talk about emotions and feelings as it is to talk about math and health and phys ed and French, right? And I think that's what Educalm has done. It's the fact that you have a program that really you can fall back for every aspect, not just the audios, but there's also so much research that you guys have put into it, and all the units really tie in with having a good, solid, healthy mind.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So, if there is a teacher out there that is considering starting Educalme Classroom in their classroom, but they're kind of on the fence, they're not quite sure if they should, what advice would you give to a teacher that's just starting out on this journey?
I would say don't wait. Like, why waste another day? Start right away. I think a lot of teachers we have this, perfectionistic qualities that we think that if it's not perfect, then there's no benefit. And that is so wrong. Um, I'm sure there are teachers out there that are saying, okay, I'm going to look at it first and then read the whole website, go through everything. You don't have to. Like, just click for the first audio and go from there. I think we need to really relax a little bit about trying to have everything lined up perfectly before we try something. And that's true for many things, right? I mean, it's not just for starting a new program, but I really would advise to just try it. Like, you have nothing to lose. Why wait another minute if you know in your heart that it's going to benefit your students? Why wait? Yeah.
That is so wonderful. So for those of you listening, if you're like, okay, I'm not going to wait any longer, you can get started using our program for free by going to educalm.com and signing up for the free trial. So this way it's, no pressure. You get the first unit, Introduction to Mindfulness, for free. You have a training video in there for how to set it up in your classroom. There, you've got nothing to lose. Try it out. We even send you emails that help you to really get started off on the right foot, give you pointers along the way. So you will be supported. You'll be able to find the resources you need. And the worst that can happen is that you play the audio and your students giggle the whole time, which really isn't the end of the world, right?
That's what I was going to say. Like, there's nothing that can go, you can't do anything wrongly, right? It's not like it has to be done in a specific way so that if you don't do it that way, you ruined your children forever. That's not going to happen. Like, exactly. The worst thing that can happen is that they spend 5 minutes listening, to an audio about mindfulness. So it's don't be scared.
I love it. You've got nothing to lose.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Maria, so much for sharing your experience with us today and for being an Educalme Classroom teacher and sharing this work with your students. It's so great to hear that you're seeing benefits in your classroom and that it's made you want to continue using the program throughout the years.
Absolutely. We want to thank you for creating it and for continuing to add and to improve, because that's also great. Like, we have definitely noticed how, different themes have been added and then the videos, and it's really something that I hope you continue to add onto.
We definitely, we will. We gather feedback every year from the teachers using our program on what they would like to see next. And every year we're adding a little here and there. So I'm glad to hear that you noticed that and that you appreciate it.
Totally, yes. And I've also talked to my staff about it, and we have another teacher on staff that's using it. So yes, we both, Kate and I, praise Educalm as much as we can.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Well, if you are wanting to focus on student well-being, mental health, on self-regulation and emotional intelligence, these are all things that the Educalme Classroom program can support you with. Educalme Classroom is a social emotional learning and mindfulness program that has ready-to-use everything. So we have audios that you just click and press play, listen, and learn with your students. They're 2 minutes or 5 minutes long. So really easy to fit into your school day. We have additional supporting materials like lesson plans, student printables, so worksheets, things like that you can use in a cross-curricular way to integrate what students are learning in the audios into other areas of your teaching. That's just an add-on. You can do that if you want, but it isn't necessary. We have posters, we have activities, all sorts of things to make it super easy for you to bring social emotional learning and mindfulness into your classroom without having to do any prep. So the core of the practice is simply listening to the audios every day with your students. They are going to gain the skills they need to thrive in whatever's happening in their life. So to enjoy the ups more and to have strategies to manage and to get through the difficult times in life, to be more resilient, etc., etc. So if you would like to start this program, go to educalm.com and sign up for the free trial. You'll get Introduction to Mindfulness, the first unit of the program, for free. It never expires, so you can use it for as long as you would like. There's also training to help make it easy for you to integrate this into your classroom and into your teaching, things that might answer your questions or give you pointers along the way. Educalme Classroom is also bilingual in English and French, so if you teach in a French immersion setting like Maria, you can switch between the languages like her and her teaching partner do, or you can just use the French, or you can just use the English, whatever works for your classroom. All right. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or a colleague that you think would get value from it too. Have a wonderful week.